guys, I wanted to talk about tips when taking the bus or using the public transportation system. Tip number 1, which is the most important tip: plan. Plan everything down to the minutes. It does take time to figure out how to work the bus systems, but it's so helpful to just plan. So check ahead of time what the schedule looks like, what the routes are going to be, where the bus stops are, how long it's going to take you to walk from one place to another place, because you may see that the bus, for example, let's say it comes in 15 minutes, and so you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll get there in 15 minutes, but that is not necessarily true. So if you're going to a doctor's appointment and you take the bus that's 15 minutes, you have to factor in the time that it's going to take you to walk from your home to the bus stop, and then from the bus stop that it dropped you off at to the location that you need to be. So the bus ride itself might be 15 minutes, but the walk from your house to the stop maybe 5 minutes, and then from the next stop to the doctor's appointment maybe 10 more minutes. So instead of a 15-minute travel time, that turns into a 25-minute travel time or a 30-minute travel time. And so planning ahead is a game changer. Hello, I have changed backgrounds now because my phone needs to be charged, so I have to plug it in while I make this video. But yeah, tip number 1 is plan ahead, plan everything. All of the tips go hand in hand pretty much with tip number 1, but I'm gonna have them be separate because tip number 1 is kind of all encompassing and I do want to break it down a little bit more. So tip number 2 is leave ahead. Leave ahead of the time that you need to go. Just because there's a bus that will take you where you need to go 5 minutes before you need to be there, it does not mean that that is the right bus to take. Please do not do it. I did it recently and I missed an appointment because I just did not plan. I did everything that I could do wrong, and so now I'm here making this video in hopes that it helps somebody not to do what I did. If the buses run, let's say every 15 minutes, then don't take that last 15-minute one. Take the 15-minute one before that one. So yeah, you may be at your appointment a little bit early, but it's better than being late and missing it, because that could happen. There are a lot of things to consider when riding the bus. Buses may not always be running on time. There may be an accident that occurred. There may be delays. So we have to consider the different things that may be going on, the weather that may be happening that day that may be affecting the routes. There could be many reasons why the bus could be running late, including somebody with a visual disability getting on and taking a little bit longer to find a seat, or somebody in a wheelchair that takes a little bit longer to get strapped in, or just somebody that's walking on the bus with some groceries in their hands and it takes them a second to find a chair and put it all down and get acquainted before the bus continues to go. So just keep those things in mind. There could be any reason why the bus may be running late, or there may be more people on the bus that day that need to get off at different stops, and so that might also take the bus off schedule just a little bit. Just a refresher: number 1, plan ahead. Number 2, leave ahead. Number 3, plan for the weather. Please check the weather, know what it's gonna look like. For example, one of the bus stops that I go to every morning does not have seating. It does not have a roof or the walls. It doesn't have the little typical bus stop look to it. And what that means is that if it's raining, I need to have an umbrella. If it's really cold, I need to be cozy, so I need to layer up and I need to be ready for that. Since there's no roof, if it's really sunny out, or if it's a time of day when the sun would be hitting that location, then I need sunblock, I need a hat, I may need sunglasses. So plan for the weather. Definitely look up what the weather's gonna look like and keep that in mind when you are planning to use the bus, because some bus stops may have a little seating area, they may have the little roof and the little room, but some may not. And so you may be there standing waiting in the cold for 20 minutes. Those are just things that happen. So it's really important to plan ahead, leave ahead, plan for the weather. Public transportation using the buses, it is not just about getting on and off of a bus. Tip number 4, ask questions. If you have questions, just ask. When it comes to asking the driver for help, you're not the first person to have asked the question, and you will not be the last person to ask the question. If you are not sure what bus you're on or which bus it is, some bus stops do have different buses, multiple buses that stop at the same place. So if you want to verify with the driver before you get on the bus, do it. Don't feel embarrassed. Just ask the question. If it's the bus, great. And if it's not, you just wait at the bus stop for the next bus to come. I see tons of people without visual disabilities, or without any visible disabilities at least, that ask the bus driver all sorts of questions about the routes, about the stops, about the scheduling. So don't be embarrassed, don't be ashamed to ask questions. If you have them, ask them. Tip number 5, find an app that works for you. So when I first relocated, there is an app that works with the city buses. It was difficult for me to understand, to know where the bus stops were, to know how much more I needed to walk. So I started digging and looking for different transportation apps that I could find. In those, I found the Transit app. I love the Transit app for many reasons. The Transit app has a countdown for when the bus is going to be there. It shows you the active lines, the inactive lines, and it kind of looks like a GPS when you go in it. And you can see how much you're going to need to walk to get to the next stop, or if you have to cross the road. So that is pretty great. I'm going to try to insert some of me using the Transit app. I'll have to blur some things out or black some things out, but I would love for you guys to be able to see that as well. With the Transit app, it also is customizable, so you can change the colors on it. I did that for my screen, for my phone screen, so whenever I look for the app, I know which one it is without really having to do digging or reading or anything. So that's very helpful. So if you're 2 stops away, it will say your blank stop is 2 stops away, or it'll say approaching blank stop, this is your stop. I do have the sound on and I do listen out for it, so it's just great information to have. Is the 5th tip: find an app that works for you and use it. But not only that, I do still recommend having the original app for your bus system. I do still have both downloaded because with the Transit app, it may not always be updated on changes to the schedule, let's say, for example, during holidays, or if the service changes for some reason, maybe during the summer or during the fall or during the spring, then those are things that might not always be available using a Transit app or a second app. So in that case, I would say cross-reference. Use both apps. You can always get a general idea from, let's say you're using the Transit app and then you're using the City Bus app. What I like to do is I look at the schedule using the City Bus app so that I know approximately what time the buses are going to be there that I'm going to be needing to take. But then I use the Transit app when I'm actually in motion, walking somewhere and I'm not sure where the bus stop is, etc., etc. And then the last tip that I have, tip number 6, if you have a cane, use it. And if you don't have one, get one. Please. It is such a game changer. Throughout the years, I've used my cane on and off because I generally still rely quite a bit on my eyesight to get around. But whenever I am in a new location, new environment, new surroundings, I do like to use my cane kind of as a way to let other people know that, hey, I can't see very well. If you're talking to me, or for example, I live in an area where lots of people are on bikes and I don't always see them. So it's helpful for them to know, hey, I do not see you. I don't see you coming. I don't see you behind me. I can hear them, of course, but I don't always know what direction they're coming in quickly. It also helps for the bus driver to know in case it does take you an extra second to sit down on the bus, which happens to me all the time. I get on and I don't see which seats are available, so it takes me a little longer. Though I do make use of the accessible seating. I'm not sure if it's available in every bus, but our buses do have accessible seating at the front. So they do allow for people with disabilities to have a little bit more space, or in my case, to just have seats that are readily available right in front of the bus so that I don't have to go looking for seats around. Though it does happen as well. Sometimes the buses are very full. But usually having my cane is helpful to let the bus driver know, hey, just give me a second to sit down before you keep going. Because we all know they have to stick to a schedule. It's not their fault. So when they pick people up, they're usually ready to go. My cane helps in that case. And it also helps when crossing the road. It helps tremendously when crossing the road. I do rely heavily on the accessible crosswalks. So, they make a noise and they tell you when it's time for you to walk. Those are extremely helpful. Love having them. Top tier. But I also do use my cane because, again, it's great for the cars to know, hey, I don't see you if you're letting me pass. Or if I'm in an area that doesn't have a crosswalk and I do just have to rely on my own judgment to cross, then it's also helpful for the other vehicles and other people to know, I don't know if you're signaling at me. I don't know if you're letting me pass. So it's just helpful to have the cane around for way more reasons than just using it for mobility, if that makes sense. In this same tip, I guess I will just add any assistive technology, really, not necessarily just the cane, but whatever assistive technology you do use, take it with you because it is helpful. If you use a monocular to see road signs or to spot things that you may need to know, then use it. If you have assistive technology, use it. Don't be shy. They are there for a reason, okay? So if we need them, we need to use them. For me, I love being the person to educate others. I love being asked questions. One, because I want to give that person a positive experience when meeting somebody that has a visual disability, These people, for us, it's the norm. But for them, they're not used to meeting somebody who has a visual disability every day, So let's say 10 years from now, they run into somebody else that has albinism and they'll go, oh, I met a girl one time that had albinism and she told me this or that. It's always good to leave a positive experience when you can, when people are... I like to leave a positive experience when people come to me with genuine curiosity, they approach with kindness, and they have questions that I can answer. I will answer. Love to answer whatever I can for people. That's something fun that comes with using assistive technology. But yeah, that being said, normally people are doing their own thing. They are not paying attention to you. So if that's something that worries you, it is a possibility that you might get questions using your devices. But when it comes to everyday life and everyday use, you're likely not going to be stopped at every corner to ask questions or to explain your disability or why you need a cane or anything like that. Of course, this would depend on where you live as well, what your experience is with these things. But I can only speak from my own experiences, which have generally been good. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that this was helpful to somebody. Those were my 6 tips when riding the bus. And let me know down below if you do try to use the bus and how it goes for you. Please share with me your stories. I would love to hear them, or techniques that you use when riding the bus that were not already mentioned. Thank you for watching the video. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.